Hello, world history students. This is Mrs. Politsky, and I have notes for Chapter 24, Section 4, talking about Russia during this great age of imperialism. So as we go along, make sure you fill in the information that you need. Looking at number 1, the Russian government and society during the first half of the 1800s consisted of Russia being ruled by czars. Czars is basically another way of saying Caesar, kind of like emperors, who had absolute power. The population consisted mostly of peasants, and many of them were serfs who were ruled by wealthy nobles. When we talk about rulers during this period of time, the last of the czars of Russia, not all of these men were very popular. You had Nicholas I, who basically led Russia during the not so popular Crimean War. Alexander II, who is probably beloved by the peasants and the serfs because he is the great liberator of these poor people. A man who was not so well liked, Alexander III, who tried to use the secret police and censorship to quell any type of unrest and to crush his opposition. And then eventually his son, who basically wasn't prepared to rule at such a young age, Tsar Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia, who led Russia during the Russo-Japanese War, which was not a major victory for the Russians, and led Russia during World War I, and basically had to abdicate his throne as a result of some things that happened in his country due to the rise of the Bolsheviks. All right. Number 2, during the 19th century, Russia experienced reforms when the serfs were freed. This was done under Tsar Alexander II. The establishment of judicial systems, a industrialized nation, and the building of the Trans-Siberian Railroad. All of these things made Alexander II very, very popular. The Decembrists, they were a group of Russian revolutionaries who rose up against actually Alexander II's father, Nicholas I. The revolt was crushed but inspired other revolutionaries that would eventually come down the line. Number 4, the Japanese attacked Russia in what would become known as the Russo-Japanese War. This was a war that was fought right at the beginning of the 20th century. This war basically had a superpower of Russia going against a kind of young upcoming nation of Japan. And Japan obviously proved that they could defeat a superpower. And Japan basically viewed Russia as a threat because of its growing empire. And a little bit of this has to do with the building of that Trans-Siberian Railroad that was getting very close to the region of Manchuria, which was a region that Japan had been eyeing for many, many years. Nevertheless, Russia's loss or defeat shocked the people and led to more unrest over the years. The ideas of Karl Marx, who you see seated there with the bushy beard, Marx was a German, just so you know, but he gained popularity in the late 1800s because of his ideas that appealed to the large working class. He would be a man who would write a book called The Communist Manifesto, which kind of became the outline of the Communist Party. And finally, Tsar Nicholas II, he issued what was known as the October Manifesto in response to an event called Bloody Sunday, which was an event where you had peasants and the clergy that was rising up against the Tsar and the lack of the reforms that he was giving. As a result, Tsar Nicholas's popularity diminished, and he would be plagued by lots of revolutionaries trying to vie for power. All right, I hope you got everything written down.